The new MacBook Pro has been controversial to say the least. Some love it, while others think that money is better spent buying previous generation models. Did Apple make a huge blunder and leave too much to be wanted? Build quality has always been Apple's strong point. This year's iteration is no different. With some of the tightest tolerances of any device, a single piece of aluminium is crafted into a beautiful metal and glass device, with plastic nowhere to be seen. The 13-inch model is 17% thinner than its predecessor and weighs just 3 pounds or 1.36 kilograms. The bottom has two rather sharp slits as air intakes and is also where the speakers fire loud, crisp audio from. A new P3 spec Retina display takes up center stage and has 67% higher contrast ratio than the previous generation. It also has 25% more color than sRGB. 500 nits of brightness ensure the screen stays just as vivid outdoors as indoors. The keyboard in the MacBook Pro is the new and improved Butterfly 2.0. Though the key travel may not be as deep as you might be used to, it more than enough makes up for it with a tight, clicky response. Expect a few missteps the first few days, but as soon as you get used to it, words just seem to fly. The keys might be loud for a few, but it's honestly because we're just used to typing too hard. The only gripe I have with the keyboard is the caps lock, which can be funky at times, not registering clicks until you touch the LED icon. This could be a defect on my device, and if you face similar problems, let me know in the comments down below. The key surface feels firm and doesn't wobble. Overall, it's a very good keyboard and I really like it. One other thing that's changed is the Force Touch trackpad. It's 47% larger and is almost big enough to fit both the MacBook charger and a 15mm Sony lens. The palm rejection is on point, but can have the occasional lapse. I constantly found myself using a small area of the trackpad and had to keep reminding myself to use more of it. Now let's talk about Apple's newest innovation, the Touch Bar. Many people call this feature a gimmick, but then also cry about losing the glowing Apple logo. What the Touch Bar needs is time. Time to develop applications and standardize the layout. The new macOS update fixed a lot of the problems I had initially with the Touch Bar. It used to get stuck, but now everything is smooth, fast, and responsive. The Touch Bar has a matte finish and the texture is very smooth. The viewing angles are great, and it's a good thing also because you're always looking at the screen at an angle. There is no way to change the brightness of the Touch Bar. The icons for changing brightness and volume can be accessed with one tap, and the Touch Bar as a whole is customizable. For a person who watches a lot of YouTube videos, the Touch Bar has been a joy to use. You can easily scrub through the video and pause and play with a single tap. Safari offers a new tab option where you can navigate to your favorites or search directly for a website. It also provides an overview of the open tabs and allows for quick tab selection. Mail is another application where the Touch Bar shines. You can blast through your inbox quickly, deleting and flagging mail. Pop-up options show up system-wide, and it does really make interacting with the laptop a lot easier. The only other problem is that it's very easy to ignore. I didn't even realize in the first week that the activity manager showed tabs. Pro tip: put the screen lock icon on the Touch Bar to quickly put the computer to sleep. This goes very nicely with the Touch ID. It's awesome for quickly logging into your device from sleep, but can't be used for changing system settings and logging directly after boot. It can be used for in-app purchases and is helpful, but I really wish Safari would use the Touch ID to log into accounts. I know that many content creators still use the SD card, but personally before making this video, I don't remember the last time I used it. Apple thinks it's time to get rid of all legacy ports, and just like the floppy and CD drive, it's all gone now. However, what they gave us is a very versatile port that can be converted into quite literally anything. In this age when everything is moving towards 4K and 2K, opting for a faster transfer protocol is best. I know a lot of content creators use Samsung's T3 SSD. This is also natively USB-C and is one less bottleneck to worry about. I think it was a no-brainer for Apple, especially because the legacy USB port just barely fit into last year's model. If they had to go thinner, they had to have gone with something with a Type-C connector. Look, I know it's annoying to buy dongles, but if someone can force manufacturers to shift to USB-C, it's Apple. It's going to be hard for early adopters, but I think it's well worth it. Added bonus is that it is very future-proof. In my opinion, the best way to deal with this is to buy a hub like a Satechi or a Minix Neo C. They literally have all the ports you would have lost. Talking about extra stuff that you have to carry, Make sure you buy an extension cable. Now, this might be enough for a few, but for me, it's not. MagSafe is also gone, so if you want that functionality back, get Griffin's BreakSafe. Make sure that you factor in the cost of buying all these dongles. One huge thing most tech YouTubers don't even mention is external GPUs. So from the research I did, it seems these eGPUs work by default in Windows on Boot Camp. But to run them on macOS, you need to do some tinkering. The Razer Core can be used with the new MacBook Pro, and I think it's better to go for the 13-inch model to save up cash. So, how does it perform? If you think the device is underpowered for the price, then for the most part you're right. But as an engineer myself, I can see why they made certain decisions. Why did they go for the last generation CPU? Well, two things: quantity and availability. Apple now for the longest time has used a dual core CPU, fairly high spec with an internal GPU for their 13-inch line. These chips are just not available for the Kaby Lake line yet. Waiting for them would mean pushing back the release date by another 6 months. And before you ask why Apple didn't put a GPU in their 13-inch line, refer to the battery life of the 15-inch, even with the extra battery. Having a dedicated GPU uses a lot of power, and you cannot have a thinner, lighter, longer lasting laptop with it. And the RAM? Again, it's not their fault. The chip that Apple uses has only a DDR3 controller, and hence, both the 16 GB limitation and the DDR3 RAM. Now, Apple could theoretically add an extra controller, but that would again take up a lot of power and would need a redesigned circuit board. Apple tried to compensate for this hardware limitation with software and uses very fast hard drives so that they can do quick memory paging. 16 GB is quite enough even for heavy content creators. Where people think it's less is when they are running virtual machines. Windows, for a decent VM, uses about 4 GB of RAM. So if you're running multiple VMs, I can see how you can run out of memory really quick. But there must be no way to justify the soldered storage, right? Well, RAID 0. They use multiple chips and run them parallelly to get those blistering fast speeds. And though they did make it replaceable on the non-touch bar model, they just didn't have enough space because of the extra fan in the touch bar model. So, would I recommend it? Yes, but only if you aren't a content creator and don't have a MacBook Pro that is less than 3 years old. It's a beautiful device and performs as per how much you pay, handsomely. Early adopters always pay a hefty price, and from the new screen, larger trackpad, high-speed memory, and touch bar, you are paying a premium. Factor in the fact that Apple, unlike Microsoft, develops its software for a handful of devices, and you see where the high cost comes from. If you liked the video, leave a thumbs up, and if you didn't, then you know what to do. This is my first video, and I aim to put out one every week. If you want more content like this, please subscribe, it would really help out the channel. If you have any tips or suggestions and want to know more about the MacBook Pro, comment down below. Until next week, this is The Salt signing off.